Everyone in Udaipur. I wish I was with you, but my son is getting married, so I'm enjoying myself over here in Adelaide. I guess I have been really pleased to be involved with the Marvi project. It is setting out to achieve some very important objectives. It's doing it in a different way to what has been done before, and in a way that will actually engage with local farmers for them to become part of the solution to groundwater management. There's no need for me to say this to you because you understand the project, but I think we can forget how unique this project is in the way that it's engaged with the farming community. The BJ program has been absolutely instrumental. It's bringing science down to the level of the farmer to assess the groundwater status. And it's the facts that can be seen and shared between farmers that enable them to get a common view of the way in which a groundwater acts, that they're working with one system. It's a finite resource, but they're all taking a share of the same resource. That's a fundamental understanding necessary for cooperative behaviour in groundwater management, and I think this project has achieved in spades in that direction. There has never been, to my knowledge, as dense a collection of data, spatially or temporally, as this project has collected in an upland hard rock catchment in India. The opportunities this gives for different ways of analysing that data to provide information necessary for groundwater management has possibly been underappreciated in the past. Unless you do have that spatial intensity of data, you don't understand the heterogeneity of the system. And I guess that leads us to a position where people can see what the options are between reducing their demand, doing that in a way that's going to be cost effective for them, and also, importantly, highlighting the role that managed aquifer recharge can play in sustaining farm livelihoods. I think the work that's been done in that area hasn't been rocket science, but it's been bringing data together in a way that is necessary so that we can assess the relative contribution of anacuts to the overall groundwater recharge within the catchment. I guess my regret is that the same level of intensity of data hasn't been available on Gujarat to enable that assessment, a similar assessment to that which Yogita is making in Udaipur, available in Megaraj. Where should we go from here? It would seem to me that this project provides the critically needed foundations for advancing managed aquifer groundwater management in rural India, and that it needs to be given a chance to work. It needs to be evaluated over a longer period of time, there needs to be the effect of continuing to observe how effective the groundwater management regime is that's implemented by the local farmers based on the groundwater data that they have, particularly the end of monsoon groundwater data. So clearly this could be expanded to other catchments. The BJ program is part of the national agenda, the training of 19,000 barefoot hydrogeologists. I think this project demonstrates the value of the Government of India's intentions and provides a pathway for them to achieve that goal far more efficiently than they would have if they had been starting at the point where we started 5 years ago. I think there needs to be an ongoing review, not only of the data and the effectiveness of the management, but also the economic impacts and the benefits, the livelihood benefits to farmers. There needs to be an ongoing evaluation of impacts of anacuts or recharge structures to farm livelihoods. 4 jet dams in the whole of India over a period of 2 years, 2 of which have been treated by scraping, 1 mechanically and 1 by hand labour, has been incredibly revealing. And I think all those involved with that component of the project can be very proud of the impact that data will have, and it will show how important it is that we continue this effort on a much broader scale so that we understand what level of investment and where should go into recharge structures so that they can support the local community without adversely impacting communities downstream. I think we can see there are certain things that the BJs do very well. There are some things that are much more difficult, and even difficult for the researchers in this program to get the elevations of groundwater of the wellheads, so that we could produce contour maps of groundwater levels, which is a fundamental for groundwater modelling. So this project has been quite unusual in that the outcome wasn't a groundwater model. We were denied that by not having sufficient accuracy in the data from the central government. It was claimed to be accurate, to be within a metre in elevation, but was obviously more than 5 metres. Errors of more than 5 metres were common. In the absence of that, we've had to go for a much more simple approach. But having done that, we would say that is probably the approach that is much easier to propagate throughout rural India than doing traditional groundwater models of each subcatchment throughout the country. So the very constraints that we had will be constraints elsewhere. The methods that we've adopted address those constraints and provide a framework for India to move forward in other similar areas. And there's a huge hard-rock area in India where groundwater is critical to irrigation livelihoods. Of course, the BJ training that's been given and the running of the BJ programs will be critical to India's development of its own BJ program. We have a much broader BJ program, and perhaps our BJs can play a very significant role in training of others, other BJs, in having other BJs come to these catchments in Rajasthan and Gujarat to observe what's been done and learn from that. There needs to be a development of capabilities for technical support for BJ programs, including the managing a mobile phone, web-based data system. Error checking and quality assurance has been really important. The quality of the data was very good, and I know that Prahlad and Yogesh and others have really put a lot of effort into ensuring that the BJ data was of good quality, and that will need to be carried forward in some way. And if this project doesn't exist, what can the government provide or NGOs provide that will meet that need for the future, so that we've got soundly based decision making for groundwater management? The surveys of check dams to produce area and volume elevation curves is something that's probably beyond the level for BJs. It requires equipment that is more expensive. We'll have to work out how that can be implemented so that studies of check dam effectiveness can take place elsewhere, or check dams, percolation tanks, range of recharge structures. I guess we have yet in this project, and we will be attempting shortly, to make predictions of check dam effectiveness from neighbouring subcatchments. So we're using rain data from all catchments and check dam information from some catchments to predict the check dam performance of check dams that we've already measured, and to see how reliable our extrapolation techniques are, which will tell us what level of intensity of effort would need to go into evaluating check dam effectiveness in different catchments. I would really love to see that program extended, initially in Gujarat and into other check dams, so that we get in all places where BJs are being BJ programs are implemented, so that they can collect the daily information about water levels in check dams, but together with the information that's provided by government, check dam effectiveness can be properly evaluated. Check dam maintenance can be well understood and improved, and the opportunities there would seem to be very considerable for benefits for improving recharge effectiveness. There's a whole lot of other things to be done as well. We haven't really put a lot of effort into understanding the water quality impacts of check dams. Quite clearly, there is potential that they are freshening of aquifers. We don't know whether they are having an impact on fluoride concentrations. That's a piece of research that's in front needs to be done. So there's a whole range of activities that this project has revealed to be of great value for rural areas in India, and we need to understand ways in which those can be implemented. It would be a tragedy if the huge gains this project has made were to be lost because of a gap in transition through to sustaining institutions that can support BJs and the information that would be required to supplement their efforts in order to have effective groundwater management. So I guess in conclusion, thank you for all of those that have worked in the project who have been so willing to share your expertise, your stories, and your enjoyment of the work. It's been an absolute pleasure being part of this team, one of the most enjoyable projects I've worked on. And particularly thank you to Basant for his role in bringing this all together and seeing the opportunities to bring in others who can each make a contribution in their area. There's countless examples of occasions when he's seen an opportunity and grasped it and brought it into the project and made it another winner within the project. So I wish you all the best with your deliberations and your planning for the future. I hope I'll be part of whatever might emerge over the coming years, and I wish you all the best.